So it is basically Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in its glory, right?
Absolutely. Vasudhaiva
Yeah.
Kutumbakam, taking all together. Yes.
Yeah.
We had not educated the world about the correct picture of India. Our strength, our tradition, our culture, our philosophy, our yoga, meditation, all of this, none of this was really put forth by the government of India. Their idea was we are backward, we are not well educated, we are a poor country, and this is all you heard in the media. That there was a bias in the United States more towards Pakistan, more towards China when it comes to India. Also, the student population. Like when I went in 1965, we were told about 4,000 or so students. Today it is 200,000, 2 lakh people, students going to USA for higher education.
Angels sent from above, you know you make my world.
We just watched a short clip from the very famous video of Hymns for the Weekend by Coldplay. And that video had erupted into a big controversy of how Firangis or foreigners view India. The controversy was that for them, India is basically something that lies between the slums of Mumbai and the sadhus of the Ghats of Banaras. And today, we have with us a person who migrated from India to the US around 1965 and has lived there for almost 60 years and now is going to share his perspective of how the view for India has changed over time. So let us talk with him in this fresh episode of Bharat Talks. Today we have with us Shrinarayan Chandak, a graduate from IIT Madras and Illinois Institute of Technology, Chicago. He has held leadership responsibilities for USA-based global NGOs such as Seva International, Hindu University of America, and similar more organizations. Sir, namaste.
Namaste.
Sir, you have been in the US for around 60 years now. So first of all, let us begin with the story of how you went there. So what compelled you to leave your motherland and go and settle down in a foreign nation?
Very good question. At that time, I had finished my bachelor's in technology, B.Tech, from IIT Madras. And this goes back to 1965. At that time, I felt that if I go overseas, and particularly the trend was to go to America because they were most advanced country technologically at that time. So we thought we would learn more and then come back and work in Bharat or start business in Bharat. That was the idea, but that's all we knew at that time.
Okay, so you left the country in 1965, right?
That is right.
What was happening in India at that time?
In 1965, I think that was a very challenging time for Bharat, for India. Partly because I think we still had not come out of a lot of controls that the government had. And so the growth in the business was very slow. Therefore, the employment opportunities for the technologists or the technocrats was not so attractive. And also the businesses, or if you want to, like what we call now startup and those things, were not heard of too much. Too many government controls. And so everything was very difficult to do. And so many of us who, for us, the only thing we could do was upgrade our skills, technical skills, and make our future better in India. And that was the reason why I went to USA for higher education.
Okay, and from 1965 to 2024, it is a long journey. So how has been the overall picture?
It is a long journey and it has its own ups and downs, both at the personal level and otherwise at the larger level too. For me, it was a big emotional issue for almost, I would say, 30 years or maybe even longer than that, to some degree even today. that I always missed Bharat, India. And as a result, last 17 years, I've been staying in India for 4 months and doing social service in the field of education and other fields. But coming back, the initial journey in USA was rather sad in the sense that the American uh, viewpoint or American thought process about the Indians or people of Indian origin in the USA was very limited. And to be very fair with United States and India, I think it was also biased to some degree. Maybe we are also responsible for that because we had not educated the world about the correct picture of India, our strength, our tradition, our culture, our philosophy, our yoga, meditation, all of this, none of this was really uh, put forth by the government of India then. And that left a lot of room for the USA to figure out who we are. And so their idea was we are backward, we are not well educated, we are a poor country, and this is all you heard in the media, which is really very sad. Um, the other thing is that at that time, on a political level, I think the USA was more inclined towards Pakistan and also more inclined later on towards China for the business growth and growth in the trade and so on. And that also did not help India. And uh, it's not a question of blaming one or the other. I think both sides may not have done sufficient work in that field. But definitely, you could see that there was a bias in the United States more towards Pakistan, more towards China when it comes to India. The that part of the picture changed later on.
The influx of Indian professionals has been increasing by every passing year, particularly since the last decade. So, how is the US receiving it on both the government and the mass level?
And you're right, there is a huge influx of the professionals coming from India. Number one, it serves a great need that, in my opinion, the corporate America has. So it fills in that gap, it fills in that void, and the technical experts or the people who are technically qualified, engineers and IT people and so on, they are definitely adding value in terms of reducing the cost of operation, in terms of improving the efficiency of the operation, and therefore the profitability of the corporate America. Now, how does it affect the common man? Is that that depends much upon each Indian how we react with the common man in any country for that matter. So in the USA, and therefore there is a I would say it has to be a partnership. In other words, we have to be good to the people in America, and the Americans also need to recognize that we are adding value to that. Now, this is not something that can be done like this. This is both sides have to educate each other. But in my opinion, our people are highly respected in the corporate America. We're making great contribution. They recognize that. And as you said, those numbers are only rising. So that is one. Also, the student population. Like when I went in 1965, we were told about 4,000 or so students had gone to USA in 1965 for higher studies. You wouldn't believe. Today it is 200,000, 2 lakh people, students going to USA for higher education. Is that good, bad? It's not a question of good and bad. I think it's an indication that the students in USA, in Bharat, in India, are looking forward for higher education. And so going to another country, you learn about another culture, you learn about another way of doing things, and you learn to interact people who are totally different from us, and so on and so forth. So that's good. So you see, the thing is that in all of this, it's a partnership. In other words, there is an obligation on all of us who are coming from India to USA to display our civilization, our culture, which I think would be extremely helpful to the people of the United States, because we have a tremendously rich culture. So that has to be displayed in our behavior with our fellow American. And as we do that, I'm sure the Americans would appreciate that. They would feel that they're being educated into something they did not know. And most Americans are very fair in that sense. And so it'll just work good, very positive for both sides. That would be my take on it.
Yeah, so it is basically Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam in its glory, right?
Absolutely. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, taking all together. Yes.
Yeah. So when we look at the condition of Indian students, the condition of their safety in US, uh, ever since 2024 has started, we have witnessed 9 deaths of Indian students. So there is a little question, concerns are being raised on the safety of Indian students in the US. So what is the reason behind such deaths? Are they being targeted for being Indian? And what is the US government doing about such incidents?
It's really a very sad situation, because these reports are coming up more frequently now than ever before. And therefore, I think it's important that it is being taken into consideration by both the government of India, the government of United States, uh, because both countries are democratic. They believe in the free movement of people. But it is a sad situation. In my opinion, I think the universities must do their part to assure that they provide the safety and security of those, particularly the foreign students, may they be from India or any other country, because American education is not cheap, it's very expensive. So when an Indian student is coming there, the fact of the matter is he's taking a loan of $100,000, which he hopes that he finishes his education, that he would return that loan.
Right.
And in the process, he loses his life. It's extremely sad, not a good reflection on the overall humanity of this world. So it should be looked into definitely very seriously. Also, my advice to the Indian students would be, and both the governments would be, that they make some effort in doing a deeper scrutiny in this matter as to who is behind this. Are these some just crazy people, or is this some kind of an organized situation? And also that the Indian students should make that sure that where they are going, that there is some level of assurance of their safety and their security. And I think we, as an Indian community living in USA, we have an obligation to help them in that. So it should be a joint effort by all, and we should certainly promote these students coming in the USA, because they make a great contribution in the ongoings of the universities, and they are not coming just there free, they are paying from their pocket.
Right.
So we all owe it to them. That's my opinion.
Right. When we look at the relations of India and US geopolitically, US's approach towards India as a strategic partner in Southeast Asia and in the Indo-Pacific region, it has changed over time. And you have witnessed it since a long time now, and you have had the third person view of the same. So, in the coming time, is there anything that Indian businesses should look forward to?
Well, these are very exciting times, by the way. They're a very good question, because there's a lot that is happening between the United States and India. both politically, business-wise, technologically, uh, and culturally as well. So these are exciting times for both countries. And however, what should be, I want to give a background of this a little bit, is that this is happening in the recent times, that excitement, that mutual participation and mutual honoring the partnership and so on. But I think if you go back to my first 35 years, it was a sad situation because there was not that much confidence between the two countries for whatever reason. And so India was really at a disadvantageous position because more the India, the United States looked at India versus Pakistan, and they were more favorable towards Pakistan. At least that's how we would feel, people of Indian origin in USA. And later on, they also started to look at China to expand their operations overseas. Uh, Lately, when I said these are more exciting times, what has happened is now USA sees it very differently. And I think finally the real picture is evolving, which is a good news for both India and the USA. And what that is that now, in my opinion, USA is realizing is that if Pakistan is one, then India is 9 times Pakistan in any good respect. That is business, technology, civilness, democracy, all of this. And the same way, I think that whatever expectations were there by the Western world, and particularly the USA, from China are disappearing, and they are seeing the reality that the India, although it may have seemed like slow moving, which it is not anymore, it's very dynamic situation right now, the GDP growth and all of that. Um, they see India as their first prime partner, not just in business, but in defense, in technology, in education, and also pretty soon in healthcare. Uh, so, uh, coming back, geopolitically, I see this very exciting time. But in this, businessman from India and businessman from USA has more to do. Rather than them looking at merely the business to business collaboration, I think they have to look at beyond that. And that would get much deeper, so I would keep it there. But they have to start looking beyond that, whereby people of both countries must benefit. They can benefit. The business, it can benefit people, but that has to be brought into action. That is one. And the other thing that we have to do is India has to make sure that doing business becomes the easiest thing in India. Right now, we are not there. Right now, if you go in USA, their philosophy is how do I make life easy? Unfortunately, in India, at least for most people, it's not easy to get things done. But I have to say this, that in the last 10 years, there has been a dramatic change in India, dramatic positive change, and therefore I would take my statement back for a moment that there is a lot of possibility. The government is very eager to make it happen. You can put your complaint on the website and the government takes a look at it. That was never heard of before. So different times. So it's very exciting. I think great potential for business and all other collaborations, collaborative efforts, collaborative partnerships.
It has been a long time now, but you right now mentioned that particularly a period of 10 years is very important, the last 10 years. So why is that period so important, and what is the reason for this drastic change to take place?
I think the answer is very simple.
Okay.
And the one person who knows it is every citizen of India, because they brought that change by, and it's not a political statement, it's a fact and it's a truth, that they realized that things were not moving, that people were only looking for their own, the leaders were only looking for their own families and things like that, unfortunately. more so in India than in the Western world. And I think there is this evolution of the social media and the digital technology. Even the common man was realizing that better things can be done. And when they found that somebody did so well in his own home state, they accepted him as their leader. And again, it's not a political statement, it's a matter of fact. And I think many nations should learn from this experience of India. And they brought the leader who made the magic. Who made the magic. And why do I say that he made the magic? Very simple. I've been in USA for 58 years. So many top leaders had come from India to USA. None had more than 500 to 1,000 people wanting to see him. Because they had not done things for the people of India. And we were part of that. They had not done anything for the NRIs which are overseas. And I'm part of that. Okay. So whereas the government that came in the last 10 years, they have made so many improvements to make the common man's life better, that it is very evident. Okay, and the example of that is that, as I said, that no more than 500 or 1,000 people would come in the USA even if the topmost leader came from India. But that was not the case, or that is not the case anymore. When the Prime Minister of India comes to USA, Mr. Modi, that 60,000 people want to listen to him. And interestingly enough, he speaks in Hindi. And only 60% of that 60,000 probably understands Hindi more than the rest of them. But they all appreciate what he is doing. So the language is not a barrier, it is the deeds. It is what you are doing, what you are delivering to your people. And I think as NRIs, we are interested that the poor people must be uplifted in India, because we believe that the foundation of any economic situation is how you uplift the people from bottoms up. And that's happening now. And based on my last 17 years of journey in India, spending 4 months a year, I see that. I see that very clearly.
So, like, is that an answer to the question that कि मोदी जी बस घूमते रहते हैं बाहर के देशों में घूमते रहते हैं, क्या किया उन्होंने दूसरे देशों में घूम के? So this is what has happened. This is what an NRI, a person who has left the country and is living away from his motherland, feels. He has seen the change of over 60 years now, and this is what he has experienced. Now that we have covered geopolitics, we have covered politics, we have covered business, now I want to ask a question on the cultural lines. Since we are talking about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, what are the areas that are cultural stronghold of the Bharatiya culture that can help US cope with their humanitarian issues? And is there anything that can be taken up on the government level from US's side?
I'm not in the government of USA, but I can talk as a normal citizen.
Yeah.
Is that there is so much to offer in this world by one nation to another, okay, by creating friendly relationship and so on. So on the cultural issue, there are too many problems throughout the world and too much violence throughout the world. So if you talk about USA specifically, I think what we read is that our number one problem is healthcare. Expensive, for many unaffordable, and still not a holistic answer. And obesity is part of that and is considered as a serious problem, which directly affects the productivity, the functionality of an individual. So coming back, India has the culture where the lifestyle of the Indians traditionally, not those who have blindly copied the Western culture, but those who live by the Indian tradition, their lifestyle is a holistic lifestyle. There is a certain amount of love there, kindness there, togetherness there. There is a certain amount of yoga, meditation. Pranayam, these things are being done by many people. They live within the limits of their incomes and stuff like that and still save money for other good causes. They're peaceful people. And that this tradition is not new. Many countries are like, USA, it's 250 years or 300 years old, okay? Or maybe before that, but if you look at the Indian tradition, it goes back thousands of years. And so it's a proven culture. And that is where particularly the thing that is coming out of India now is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. I think that needs to be spread. And so there has to be a lot more dialogue between the government of India, the government of USA, the education institutions in India, the education institutions in USA. And I like to make one statement. Many billionaires from India, they give blindly their money to the universities, not even knowing what they are doing with that money. And many universities are actually using that money against the interest of India. I think that should be looked into very carefully because it's a hard-earned money. Although the businessman is giving, it's a money out of the sweat of the Indians, okay? So it should be given to a university that can promote this holistic lifestyle of yoga, meditation, pranayam, and healthy diet, and the balanced lifestyle, all of these things, whereby people can lead a more holistic lifestyle in the USA. That would help the people of USA. They would appreciate that. But we have to bring it out. And we have to also spread that in India as well as in USA.
Okay, so you mentioned that there are certain universities who are using the funds coming from India, Indian billionaires, against India. Can you please elaborate more on those lines?
It's only fair that I don't mention the names of those universities. It is for the appropriate agencies to find out who they are and take the corrective action. But it has been seen that the industrialists from India or the big businessmen or business houses have given big gifts to leading universities in USA. I would say that's not a bad idea, provided you put certain conditions on that donation and make sure those conditions are held good. For example, if they turn around and only blackmail India or blackmail our culture, how does it help?
Right.
And misrepresent the poor people of this country, of India.
Okay.
How does that help? I mean, that's like another BBC, which is doing it on a full-time basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think the responsibility comes on every donor, and every donor from India, whose names I'm not mentioning, is a very learned man and more than likely has some degree or the other from USA. I think they can analyze that very well themselves. They should do it. And the universities, the two sides of the government should also participate in that, ensure that the donor's donation is honored in the right way. And that university should not become a political institution to blackmail another country. They are actually participating in a political action.
So that was it for today. I hope we engage in more interesting episodes just like this one. Stay tuned for more such information. Thank you.